Welcome to the video, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me today. So, as it says in the title, I'm about to launch 7 brand new products on my Amazon UK storefront, and I want to share that experience with you. Many of you are probably, at the stage where you're about to launch, or maybe you're looking for your first product. So I hope you can take something useful from the experience that I've had with these 7 products. So if you find the video useful, please hit that like button and drop a comment below if you have any questions whatsoever. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Right, people, so 7 new products launching on Amazon FBA UK in 2019. So this video has been a long time coming. If you have been following this channel for a while, you know that I've been, over the last year, working with hundreds of students to help them launch their own products. And I'll be honest, I have taken the foot off the pedal, so to speak, with my own Amazon FBA business. I've just been sort of floating along, continuing to sell the products that I'm currently selling, but I haven't been scaling and expanding. So the reason for that is there's only one of me, and I do focus a lot of time on my work with my students. So now it's time to make sure that I am practicing what I preach, right? You have to practice what you preach. You have to have multiple products selling on Amazon to have a real understanding of how it works. And I need to make sure that I've still got what it takes to do it, right? So we're launching 7 new products, and I anticipate them to do very well. I hope they will do very well based on the work that I've done. So the video that I'm putting out there to you guys today is to share with you the process that I've been through over the last few months. So I'm yet to launch this product. It's going to be launching in the next few weeks, hopefully, depending on if my supplier gets these goods to me when they're supposed to, but it's expected to launch in the next few weeks. So I'm going to let you guys know how that goes, but I'm also going to walk you through what I've done up to this point. Because if you're a student of mine, or if you're just following the channel out of curiosity, you may be at the sort of beginning stages before you've even committed to this idea. You may be in the product selection phase where you're just trying to find that perfect product, or you may be about to launch. So hopefully this is useful for you in some way, shape or form. Now, we jump straight in. And this is an important statement to pose to you now. How did I ensure this entire process ran as smoothly as possible from start to finish? Now, it's inevitable that there are going to be speed bumps, right? You're going to have issues that you're going to have to overcome, but you want to make sure that you've planned everything so well and you've carried out the right processes to minimize the chances of the issues happening, right? If you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail is the old saying as it goes. So let me walk you through the first step. So initially, like everyone who's launched a product on Amazon, you have the selection phase. And one of the most important points, during the selection phase is to make sure that there is demand for a product. If there is no demand for your product, there is no point selling it. If, the reviews are really low and, the listings are poor and you think this is the best idea ever, if there is no demand, then it's a waste of time. So how do we establish demand? Well, we use, firstly, in very simple terms, we use software like Helium 10 and Jungle Scout, and there's links below for you guys to go and have a look at those tools to make sure that our products have high sales volumes per month. So I was looking for sort of 200 sales per month or more, ideally 300 sales a month for the particular products that I'm selling. Now, a lot of you will know that there's a lot of criteria when you're looking for products, but the criteria isn't everything. That is sort of the blueprint. They're the variables that you need to consider. You'll hear it all the time: low reviews, high revenue, high sales, low competition, high demand. Obviously, those things need to be considered. But if you really want to do well at this, you need to really think outside the box and look at. If we look at the second point, how to add value, right? Improve on what is currently there, differentiate, and really bring something better to market. Because that's really what's going to blow the product up through the launch phase. So one way I do that is I analyze the competition. I made sure that with the product that I'm selling, that I could identify some changes that I could make, some different techniques or different sort of product aspects that I could introduce to stand out from what was there. And it was very clear from the images of the competition and also some of the negative reviews of the competition that things needed to be improved on. So you do want to try your absolute best, and I believe it's probably the most important point, is adding value, getting a solution or achieving a solution for a problem that is currently out there. I always mention and I have in previous videos right from the beginning of the channel, if you look at, for example, a small white towel, a square or rectangular towel for a baby, that was what was used until someone, a genius, realize that when someone takes their baby out of the bath, it's quite difficult to sort of, handle them in a small towel. So we had a towel that loops around your neck and it has sort of a little pouch that can, you can pick the baby up and dry it. Now, that is a solution to a problem, and it's targeting a specific audience, which is, mothers and fathers with young babies. So that's what I mean. And I work very hard with students to make sure that we have a strong differentiation strategy to make sure that the product sells extremely well. So that sort of covers the third point. I ensured that I could differentiate from my competition, and you do need to do that. If you launch a mediocre product that's very similar to everything else that's out there, you're still going to make sales if you do everything correctly. You're going to make sales, but you're not going to be the best, right? And we want to be the best when we do this. You're only going to launch your first product once, and if it's not a success, it'll put you off the idea. And I can tell you, if it is a success, which it likely is if you do everything correctly, it will really drive you to continue to grow the business and launch further products. So another point underneath there, profit margins. Again, we don't want to launch a product if there is no profit to be made or if there is no return on investment. You can look at it in two different ways. So I needed to establish my profit margins. And I usually go with the figure, the sort of cut-off figure, the baseline figure of 30%. So I never look at products that generate less than 30% profit per sale. And I try to get 100% return on investment for the investment that I make into my products as well. So you can do this using, I'll put a link below as well for my FBA calculator, or for a FBA calculator, which will help you work out the different fees that you're going to pay and factoring in, the cost of your product, delivery, VAT, duty, things like that. Because you need to be hot on those topics. Because, if you make a mistake when you're calculating your margins, and then when you launch, you're 10% off what you thought you were, it can be the difference between the product being viable and succeeding to it not. So that's something that's extremely important, during this phase. Now, obviously, I could sit here all day and talk about product selection, but you guys aren't going to stay tuned for 5 hours. So we're gonna talk about some of the most important points. Now, as well as product selection, once you have selected the product that you intend to sell, you're going to need to be able to source it. Now, you might have dipped into this step when you were working out your profit margins because you need to know how much the product costs to source. But here are some of the most important things that I personally do when I am sourcing products. Now, with these 7 products that I'm launching, 4 were with my current supplier, so that was nice and easy. But 3 were from a new one. So I had to vet that new supplier to make sure that they were right for the type of product that I'm launching. So it's important that you use a reliable or reputable supplier. And there's different ways that we can establish whether or not they are or not. So a very simple one that people will know about is trade assurance. So trade assurance is just like having car insurance, right? If you go out and have a crash, then you are covered if something goes wrong with the vehicle. So very similar to trade assurance on Alibaba. When you buy a product, you have specific terms under which that product purchase is made, and that's called trade assurance, which means that if the delivery is very late or if there are issues with the products when they arrive, you are covered and you will get refunded for those products, or an alternative solution will be made by the supplier that you have to agree with. So that's very important. Never, ever pay for products without having trade assurance. And if a supplier doesn't offer it or tries to sort of push you away from trade assurance because it costs them money, then I would move on to someone else. Now, I paid via credit card because it adds another layer of protection, right? We're all about protection, guys, right? So I paid by credit card because it means that as well as having trade assurance element, you can also, if you contact your credit card, if for example, if the products weren't up to standard, you can often have a transaction reversed if it's made by credit card, whereas if it's a bank transfer, it can be more difficult to do that. PayPal is a very similar method to using credit card. And although there is a charge, there's a charge with trade assurance as well. So, sorry, there's a charge with a direct bank transfer as well, and it's not that much more with a credit card. Now, I also paid for an Alibaba inspection service. So when you have your products finished, I always recommend students to, have a look at the products via video call if possible. Definitely see images of the products before they're shipped to you, and to make sure that they are boxed and secured super securely and safely with lots of padding. But you can also pay for an inspection service on Alibaba, and it ranges between sort of $100 and $200, and it can go up higher than that, where you'll have a third-party, independent, sort of impartial body or person who will come in separate to your supplier and make sure the products are good enough before they're shipped to you. And there's no issues, because once they get to you, if there's issues, it's a pain. If they're already there, they can fix those issues. Now, I do like to see 3 years underneath here of transaction history. That's like, for example, looking at reviews on Amazon, that people have been buying it, and if it's good or not. It's typically, if it hasn't been selling, then it's more risky. And also, if you imagine eBay, you have sort of seller feedback. I bought something yesterday on eBay and they had 99.9% seller feedback. I knew they'd made loads of transactions because it said next to the feedback the number of sort of feedback that they'd received from different people, and it was a lot. So transaction history is important, and it's worth checking that on the platform. Now, use an assessed supplier. What does that mean? So an assessed supplier is someone who is a supplier that's been vetted. So they've essentially had an independent body come in and make sure that they are compliant with lots of different procedures, and if they are certified in whatever area that they're selling in. And it is hard to find assessed suppliers, or harder, but if you can, it validates the supplier, it makes them more credible, and I would recommend doing that. And it was something that I did with the second supplier that I used for the product that I've launched. So I also sampled the product. Right? You have to sample products. If you don't sample products, you've got no, the hair's going bonkers, you've got no idea if it's going to be good or not. It's a vital part of the process, and you have to make sure that you do sample when you are going through the selection / sourcing phase. Now, using DDP, this is the shipping method, so delivery duty paid. It means that your supplier will pay for your VAT and duty before the products are before they even arrive at your door. Now, if the supplier does pay for your VAT and duty and they charge you for the VAT and duty in the invoice, make sure that it's very clear and detailed on the invoice itself, so that you're both on the same boat and understand what it means. And DDP also requires the supplier, or the onus is on the supplier, to make sure that they take care of the delivery from the point they're shipped directly to your door. So you don't have to worry about them coming through customs and having to use a third-party courier to come and collect them from the airport or from the port that they come in on boat. They do it all, okay? So some people, again, it's something to mention, guys, you can split your delivery, some by air and some by sea. This can save on costs, because you don't necessarily need all of your units at once. You might need to be able to split, 500 units, 200 by air, 300 by sea, to bring down the delivery cost. And, we all are familiar at this stage, most likely, with Alibaba. That's what I keep referring to. This is the platform we use to find products. And the number one, from my experience, to find good products to sell. And, guys, that's all it's about. We're looking to find a product that sells well, source it, make sure it's good quality, add value to it, brand it, and create this perceived value and sell that on Amazon with a huge markup. And the markups can be really, really big. You can buy for mine, for example, I buy my units for sort of £5 and I sell them for 23 or 22 and 26. It varies. So it's a huge markup. Now, how do I ensure, we've already talked about that, but launching the product, well, I haven't launched them yet. So I'm going to keep you guys posted with how that goes, and give you some stats from my sales, and I will let you know what my launch strategy was when it comes to that stage, which will be in the next few weeks, guys. So something I wanted to touch upon as well is the profits from these products. So what am I expected to make from selling these products? What's the revenue? What are the profit margins? What are the figures? So I'm going to attempt to break that down very clearly for you guys, and you can have a look for yourself. So over the 7 products. Now, these are going to be, and we look here, product 1, there's 3 variations of that product, but they're not going to be one listing with 3 variations. They're 3 separate ASINs, 3 separate listings, and 3 separate products, really. They don't qualify quite for variations, but I tried to keep it in simpler terms for you guys on this one. But there's 3 separate products that are launching from my new supplier that I mentioned to you. So 600 units in total, 200 for each variation, okay? Now, those products, and if I'm going to hover the mouse over here, those products cost me £4.81 each to purchase. I've converted that over from dollars. I can't remember what the dollar amount was, but converted it over to £4.81. Plus my shipping, which was £1.20 per unit. I had a VAT cost per unit of 96 pence and a duty cost of 24 pence per unit, which brought the total landed cost, so for them to get over to the UK, arrive in Amazon FBA or at your home, whatever you're doing, a landed cost of £7.21. That's what they cost me in total. Now, if we multiply that by 600 units, the total investment into this venture for the first 3 products is £4,326. Now, remember, you're probably only going to launch 1 product if you're just starting. Maybe you'll launch 2, maybe 3 at a push. I haven't had a student launch more than 3, but 4,000 is quite a big upfront investment. And the reason that I've got the cash flow to do this is because over the last 2 years, I haven't been spending the money out of my company account. You know, I've been letting it build up. I've been reinvesting in current stock, growing. Sales have been increasing, and money has built up in the bank to a point where I'm in a very comfortable position to launch 7 at the same time while still having a lot of cash flow in the Amazon company account, which, you know, will enable me to further scale. So the advice there, guys, is don't blow money from your business account. It's so easy to just go to the cash point and take cash out, but don't do it, because when you're in the position that I am now, where, you know, 2 years have passed by and you've got a nice sum of money in there, it makes the ideas like this so much more viable. So 4326, and we're going to move me over here now for a moment. So now let's have a look then. So the 4,326 is the initial investment. Now let's look at revenue minus cost. So I sell this particular product for £21.99. We multiply that by the 600 units, right? And that brings in a total revenue of £13,194. But the revenue is not what counts, because we have fees. So let's deduct those fees. So we have an FBA fee, which is 1,900, muddled those two up. We have a referral fee, which is 15% of this amount, which is £1,979. And we also have a fulfillment by Amazon fee, which is the cost that they charge me to be able to ship all my products and store them, which is £924. Now that brings us to a total of £10,291 that's generated after my main basic costs. And I'm going to talk about PPC later, but these fundamental fixed costs that you're going to have brings me to this point here. Now, there is a monthly fee for selling as a professional seller, but that's marginal if you were to split it over these 7 products. So we're not going to look at that. It's like £35 a month or £30 a month divided by 7. So it's like £4. That is something that doesn't need to be considered at this point. It's the main fundamentals I want to look at. So if we look here, £10,291 is what I get back from selling all of these products. Now, if we deduct what they cost me to buy, which obviously we need to do, we're left with 5,965 in profit from these 600 units and 3 new products. Now that is, if we compare these 2 numbers here, so the amount that I get back, right, with the profit, it's a 57.2% margin, which is extremely high. It's not typical to be that high. That is very, very high. Like I said, 30 is the cutoff point. You'll see from my second product, it is not that high. Typically, my margins are around 40%, 40 to 50%. You tweak your prices often. I do have a higher sales price to begin with, and this might drop a little bit. But for now, it's 57.2%. Now, if we look at this as an ROI, and you can sort of use this as an alternative means of sort of working out if an idea is viable, I've got 137% ROI. And that's worked out by taking the figure here, which is what you got back from the investment, and you deduct the initial investment, and that's in brackets, and then you divide it by the initial investment. I've got a 1.37, which is converted to 137% ROI. So that means the return on my investments, remember, I put in 4,326 and I'm getting back 10,291. So I'm getting over double back to what I put in. And I always look for over 100% ROI when possible. So if we move on to the second product, and again, guys, this is 4 variations, but they are going to be 4 separate listings. They have got their own ASINs, and for me personally, it seems to work better when I have 4 separate products ranking than one listing with 4 variations. It does differ depending on your product. But again, with students, I do see very often that having separate listings, especially if you don't qualify for variations, then you have no choice. Having separate listings works better. So I have 4 different products launching for this second product, and I'm ordering 800 units of these, so 200 for each particular variation. So it's a fairly low order quantity, and it's something that, because I'm in a position to purchase again, as soon as I see that they're starting to sell, I'm able to purchase a smaller order quantity for each product. So the cost per product is £8.58, so it's slightly higher. Again, I have my shipping fee, which is £1.20. I have my VAT and my duty. So these are all figures that we need to consider. And the total landed cost is £11.81. So that's how much it's costing me to get a single unit over to the UK. Now, if we multiply that by 800, I've spent £9,528 on this second product, 4 different products, but we're going to call it my second product. I've spent nearly £10,000. So it's a lot of money, right? So if we look at what the yield is, so this product, you can see I've spent more on the product than the previous one, but I'm selling it for more. So I'm selling this product for £27.99. If we multiply that by 800, my return, my yield, is £22,392. So if we deduct our costs, we have our referral fee, which is the fixed fee for your product that Amazon will take on every sale, and we have the FBA fee there also. So these 2 fees are deducted from the £22,392 to leave us with a grand total of £17,914. Now remember, we've still paid for the products, right? So let's deduct the 9,528, and we're left with £8,386 in profit. Now, as a percentage of this, that's a 46% profit margin. So lower than the other one, and it's an 88% return on investment. I haven't made 100% back on what I invested, right? I invested 9, and I'm only actually making 8,386. So it's not quite 100%. But it's near enough. So that's a breakdown of what I'm expecting from these products if the launch goes well. Now, a lot of you will be thinking now, well, what about spending on PPC? And that's a very, very valid point. And we're going to look at that in this next part. So profit over the 7 products is 14,000 if we add those 2 up. So over the 7 products, we have, 2 with 3 variations, 1 with 4 variations, but listed separately. So again, it's quite confusing. We get to 14.5K in profit, right, which is pretty good. Now, my PPC strategy is individual to me for these particular products, and it's based on the keyword research that I've done and the work that I've done, knowing what search terms I need to go after and how much I need to bid for them and how competitive they are. So I anticipate to spend about £20 for each product every single day for 2 weeks, okay? So that's £140 a day for 14 days, which is almost £2,000 spent on PPC. Now, from my experience, from my niche and for my products, that works if everything is in place, right? That's enough to get you up to the first page, and from there, your organic drive will boost you up to the top two rows, for example. So I'm spending £2,000 on PPC. There are other ways that you can do this. Some people, I have students who spend near to nothing, others who spend, well, not really more than this because no one launches 7 at the same time, but relative to the amount that they spend, about the same. So £20 per day, some go even higher to £30 a day. It depends on the product, and this is all what we work out when we're doing our product research. So the total left over is £12,391 if everything goes to plan. Now guys, what do you think I'm going to do with that 12,000? So bear in mind, I've got back my initial investment. So I've got back my 4,326 and I've also got back my 9,528. Right? So let's say I reinvest those and do exactly the same thing again. I get another 200 units for all of these 7 products. Right? So I'm in stock. I've got enough money to restock the products that I've just launched. But I've also got nearly another, whatever these two added up are, 9.5, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14K. I've nearly got another 14K to launch another 7. So you can see how this business model is so scalable. And I'm not saying you would, exactly reinvest the yield and buy exact same 7 products with 200 units and then use all of this to scale. You might want to order 300 of each of the 7 products for the next order, and then you might have £6,000 or £7,000 to launch 3 or 4 new products. But you can see the power of reinvesting and scaling a business. It is sort of compounding. It's very, very effective if you do it properly, and you can see how quickly you can grow a business, especially an Amazon business that doesn't require a lot of work once you're launched. Quite quickly. So I hope you found the video useful, guys. I'll be keeping you updated with how the launch goes. Again, I have some free training below. I also have my advanced course, which is detailed out in the link below. So if you've got any questions, as always, you can email me about that. Comment below if you've got any questions about what I put out today, and I will do my best to answer. So as always, thank you so much, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.